Good morning, my friends. Alan Clements here. Today, a spontaneous talk sharing on our upcoming retreat in Ubud, Bali, March 15th to the 21st, 2025, at the spectacular sacred museum resort gardens of ARMA, co-produced with my beloved friends at USADA Bali and World Dharma Productions. Strict limit of 20 people. We have about 10 people already registered, another 20 or so that have inquired. And I say this with humility and honor that it's likely to my last retreat. I have not other things that I want to do, but I have other things that I'm feeling that I want to explore. Having been in retreat for nearly 15 months, the year before last and last year, actually in Ubud. And I want to bring together those rare people. How do you calling all those rare people who want to commune for a week, and mavericks, all the cliches, misfits, renegades, revolutionaries. I come from a long lineage of family and friends in the country of Burma, Myanmar, as it's known today, where so many family and friends, acquaintances have risked it all to use the power of their body and their mind, their art, their theater, their poetry, their music, their filmmaking, their hands, their resources to challenge dictatorship. And as a result, many of them have been imprisoned, some executed. So I use the word very carefully, revolutionaries and renegades and misfits, but lovers of freedom, lovers of dignity and conscience. I'm a futurist. I'm not a present type alone. I do believe that I'm navigating something more spectacular, more profound. And yes, there's a navigational allure to be present in this moment now. But at the same time, I've got my eye on my North Star, on a future of freedom that exceeds anything we've known in my life and in this life as we see it. A true future to believe in. So I'm calling all of you, whoever you may be, to come to our website, worlddharma.com, alanclements.com, under the schedule of events page, and there you'll see at the top our retreat, a world gathering for global peace. Can't say enough about peace. And reconciliation, a very unusual word, often used, but very difficult for all of us to manifest. How easy it is to empower estrangement through the unmindful use of language, just like that. Years of intimacy and friendship. Deep bonds can be broken with the sound of an auditory vibration that upsets the resilience, the compassion, the love of another. So this retreat will be our humble way to empower the virtues of peace in dynamic felt action, and reconciliation inside and with each other and outside. And calling all you crazy people out there that want to come together. I'll get into some of the things that we'll be doing there. But it's not for me about healing. It's not a healing retreat. Yes, you could say that it could offer that, but I've been encouraged over my 5 decades of Dharma exploration to see consciousness as a flower, and to inhabit and to study the felt realities that open that cognitive, nearly invisible flower of consciousness. And how often we would hear that, you don't examine the darkness between petals to facilitate the opening of freedom. Yes, we want to learn from our mistakes, but how we abandon the nutrients of that opening. So I'm not into recovery or healing. It's just not my thing. And quite frankly, I've seen over the decades the absolute, and I say this in a very personal basis, the absolute beauty and the ability of the individual to beautify that which normally spiritual, psychological, even psychedelic and dharmic and Indian and Burmese, often traditions vilify. How they polarize and create a very distinct difference between right and wrong, good and bad, light and dark. And yes, there's a very, very intimate bond. But depression, for example, the study of language, how we frame consciousness in culturally sanctioned truisms. So the retreat is very spiritually incorrect. Depression, for example, I would call it, in my decades of feeling absolutely displaced from normalcy, I've come to see over the decades that it's actually been a remarkable quality of the heart, of the mind, and not to buy the packaging, the vilification, the SSRIs. I'm not going to just judge all these things categorically, but they're not for me. I've been down that road. I've done them. I've seen them. I've felt them. I've listened to them, and they don't work for me. I don't buy conventional labels, and depression is one of those labels that just doesn't work for me. It's like I'm so into context. And depression, for example, like addiction, is just often misplaced, not yet actualized, morally felt courageous presence to actualize that which you feel to be in step with your integrity, and perhaps even further out of step with your parents, your family constellation, your spiritual tribe, blah, 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 right? What does it mean to be authentic within the so-called Dharma, these principles of awakening? And I use this word very frequently, non-performative authenticity. How many times I remember interviewing former political prisoners, and I would ask them in a very humble way, how do you get through the darkest times? And I don't want to really go down the rabbit hole of how dark I heard about prison conditions, but it seems like hard to even repeat. And so many of these women and men and young women and young boys often, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, some of them 20, 21 years. I have a friend now is going into his 24th year of imprisonment. Inhabiting would be a common word, inhabiting dignity. I just am down with the word dignity. That's informed by an allegiance to your sense of non-performative authenticity in relationship to moral courage and integrity and in truth, and relying on that instinctual listening. Meditation is the listening to the instinct for freedom. And to inhabit dignity. The retreat is about inhabiting more and more the felt inner asana, the Dharma inner asana, inner Dharma yoga of these states of mind, the study of consciousness on a felt, deeply, mindfully, intelligently inhabited reality. How well do you do standing posture as a yogi in Ashtanga or Vinyasa? How well do you inhabit the standing posture of dignity if you're a paraplegic, a cripple? Conscience is another word, conscience. That deep instinctual core heart energy of the guiding principle of integrity, that inner compass, that Dharma inner compass that discerns. How do you cultivate discernment as an ongoing Dharma practice, the inner Dharma asana of discernment? That it isn't just understood and therefore lived, it's an evolving relationship to the trans-sculpting of conscience and dignity and moral courage and freedom in dynamic felt action that's non-performative, that's real and authentic to the truth of one's own inner being, and making that Dharma practice of authenticating one's freedom in relationship to the body, the mind, the family, the context, the constellations, inside and outside. I call that world Dharma practice. The retreat is about world Dharma, how to inhabit the uniqueness of our own interior cognitive blockchain of transformational awakening, using consciousness like a flower. What are the constituents of one's own opening? What is your light? What is your nutrition? What is your soil? What is your oxygen? What are your minerals? And how to inhabit these nurturing qualities of consciousness on a more and more sustained basis, that no matter what, as they told me often in Burma, that the way in which we got through yet another unrelenting day of incarceration behind these iron bars with no pillows and mosquito nets and toilets and medicines. How many times I heard, I refuse to let those iron bars incarcerate me. It's my language. My freedom was never theirs to take. I'm so down with that. And how do you protect and inhabit, cultivate, fortify, evolve, authenticate, develop that edge of resilience and patience and determination and loving kindness and self-empathy and self-love? Wow, what virtues those qualities are. Always beginning again anew with honor. What is the feeling of honor? What is the felt quality of resilience inside? How can I, as an artist or a spoken word communicator, tune into the interior frequency of dignity? How many times I would hear my teacher, the late Venerable Seda U Pandita, invite a yogi, a meditator, someone who's in the monastery voluntarily, to inhabit the most authentic experience of mindfully intelligent dignity as they move their arm towards their food, and either with their hand or a chopstick or a fork or a spoon, reach into their food, and mindfully, as you bring that nutrient of food to your mouth, equally bring a mindfully awake presence to the sensations in the arm and the intention to move the arm with the food to the mouth. So be aware of the simultaneity of different processes to inhabit in now time awareness, dignity and mindful intelligence, and right there, freedom, 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 freedom to feel in dynamic action, to nurture the body and the mind. Feel the energy of the food in your mind and body. Lower your arm, lower your fork, lower your chopstick, and chew with present time present, grace, gratitude, and mindful awareness. Taking that habitual, conditioned momentum into the next and settling back. Taking the time out of the sitting. I mean, I cried for so long in a monastery, both with terror of confronting this momentum as well as the joy of coming home into a place that sanctified and elevated the beauty of non-performative authenticity to feel and to inhabit the reality of what it meant to be a human, just simply to bathe at the bathing well. The simplicity. So the retreat is a lot about the return to simplicity. I'm not saying the retreat is the place to be all the time, but it may very well be that it informs us on how to recreate our daily lives in ways that are more and more informed by the qualities that nurture the awakening and the opening of your own flower of consciousness, and in your own way of inhabiting your sense of humanness, dignity, conscience, self-compassion, and honoring your creative freedom and instinct for liberty. Oh, I could go on. Ehipasiko, Wupanaiko, Pali Buddhist words. Sandihiko, Ehikaliko, Ehipasiko, come and experience for yourself. Encouraging personal verification. The retreat is based upon Ehipasiko. Come and see for yourself. It's not about a teacher down student story. That for me is long, decades long over. It's a group experience to help inhabit the process of seeing for myself what is true at the deepest, most felt levels, to listen to more instinctual, timeless truths. Ehikaliko. Studying the tapestry of consciousness, the felt textures of consciousness. If one were to say, what is the retreat about? It's to inhabit the auditory, linguistic energy frequencies of states of consciousness. In the absence of an individual knowing states of consciousness, we fuse and project, and through the senses we act out. War, genocide, rape, all the ways in which we vilify ourselves by vilifying others, denigrating ourselves by denigrating others. States of consciousness. I would hear that over and over and over again in the monastery. Meditation is the felt study of states of consciousness. Not about studying Buddhism or Dharma. Like, what are your 5, 6, 7, 10 most sacred states of consciousness? Your SOCs, as I call them, or your SOM, states of mind. Non-performative authenticity, dignity, conscience, patience, love, patience. Patience, the ability to co-inhabit that energy that wants to move through something because it's difficult. But how difficult and challenging it is to live in that more divine feminine space of embrace. Nurturing that complexity with resilience, with self-empathy, feeling oneself, rather than hastily moving through something, getting through something. That, I'm no offense, I want to get through things sometimes, but sometimes you just can't get through dying. Sometimes you just can't get through. You just can't get through. Next thing you know, you're through, you're dead. Some things you got to look at right in the face, right? Aging, disease, illness, change, being associated with things you don't like. Not wanting to be apart from those things that you love. Next thing you know, you're in this invenerating condition of context, an interrelated sense of mandalas, and you cannot control it. What does it mean to live in non-control? Khanti, patience, pause. The retreat is a big pause. It's not just checking out, though. We'll be doing lots of different things there, beyond just listening to the creative impulse. And let me loop back a little bit, if I can here, to addiction and healing and recovery and trauma. I mean, no offense to those words, but I have a very unique language for me personally over the many decades, from monastic experience to war zones to refugee camps and the horror and the beauty of the trauma there, to theater and the beauty of the spoken word and the spontaneity of improvisational presence wherever you may be in your natural world. I am not going to make love with you through the habit of my memory. Consensual intimacy and spontaneity. Studying states of consciousness. What are those 10, 5, 7, 13 different colors on your cognitive palette? We will study what you wish to study. I'll share with you my way about going about over the decades, the felt study of creative expression. I think so many difficulties and so much time is spent endlessly in recovery, in overcoming addictions, and re-looping back into denigrating addictions is the absence of a meaningful, purposeful sense of creative engagement. And at the absence of that creative engagement, hear me out, in my monastic years, although they were extremely short, less than 4 years, but I spent other time as a layperson in monasteries, but set aside time, everything was encouraged to be done with what we called Dharma artistry. You don't need to be famous and write a best-selling book and be on a stage and count how many people like and swipe and do all the various things. You can decode and hack that cultural, societal, capitalistic algorithm that captures consciousness and behaviors, no offense, and return back to the aesthetic, the Dharma artistry of one's own personal spiritual aesthetic. One of the greatest things that I've seen overlooked within meditative Dharma circles is uniqueness and creativity of your aesthetic. No two of us will do it alike. The way in which you move your arm, the way in which you look, the way you listen, the way you wash, the way you brush, the way you shave, the way you stand, the way you sit. No two of us will sit the same. I was in a monastery with sometimes up to 3,000, 5,000. On special holidays, we had 10,000 yogis there. You'd see a meditation hall with 1,000 nuns. Another meditation hall with 800 monks and young novices. And how often I would hear the blessed teachers I was able to be near, how no two of them were doing the same practice. How's that for classical Theravadan Satipatthana meditation? Mindfulness, infinite gradations of what it means. You could probably put a room of people together, of 100 people, and say, please explain to me in your language, what does it mean to be mindfully present? And how many of them you can probably trace back to which book they read on what mindfulness is. So afraid to really just speak of what it means to be immersed in your breathing. What does it mean to breathe? And to experience the sensations of oxygen in the lungs, in the throat, in the nostrils. And to hear that pixelation, it's trans-psychedelic. Many of you know that. At the retreat, we'll be meditating. We'll have a schedule. There'll be writing periods on self-reflections. I'm super down with that. Some of the classic things we'll be studying is the role of consciousness in life, Vipassana insight meditation for those of you who have done retreats in the past. I am honored to share with you my 52 years of engagement in Vipassana meditation. It's right out there with going to Mars, if not another dimension, and I can't wait to meet a non-human intelligent form and have a dialogue with this individual. Vipassana insight meditation rocks. It's amazing. It doesn't mean one thing. We'll be cultivating that during the retreat. Equally, a thing called mindful intelligence, which is very different than mindfulness. How often we've heard that you could be mindful like a mirror, but that mirror often reflects you. We don't necessarily want the habitual, conditioned reflection of you. We want to see that as a reflection or a conditioned, habitual interpretation of something. We want to see through that reflection in the pond called my face and see deeper into the contents of water and consciousness. Mindful intelligence is to be balanced and transparent enough to see through the immediate reflections of habit. Wow, okay, got it. There's more to me in this experience and my attitude. And so mindful intelligence is looking through the scope as an assassin was trained to do and kill that so-called enemy. And you go, why am I believing that individual over there like it's a 12-year-old girl in Iraq? Why is she an enemy? Because she's Muslim. She worships Saddam. Whatever. No. Mindful intelligence goes, no, that's not right. How willing are we to go, no, that's not right. How many people have been led by gurus and predators, for God's sake, no, it's not right to be a pedophile. No, no matter what you tell me in the name of liberty, it's not right. No. Mindful intelligence is that capacity to go, no, to yourself through the next line of fentanyl or cocaine or methamphetamine, or how often I would, when I was using, so-called antidepressant drugs, which I did for many years until I mindfully stopped, and I would mindfully take it in my hands and look at it and feel it, and then I would really feel into, now, just put it in, shut up, Alan. No, I didn't want to be captive anymore by a pharmaceutical, I want to say consciousness. I don't want to participate in my own capture. That's liberty. That's mindful intelligence. I stopped many years ago. Anyone who wants to stop a so-called addiction, and I call it the beautification, we call it the bhavanification of addiction, the bhavanification of recovery. I never lead with it, but I love talking about it and sharing with you. If you're interested, come to the retreat, recover, deal, heal, overcome trauma. There's amazing ways to beautify that process, and it takes the healing and the trauma and the addiction and the recovery immediately out of your vocabulary. You now are a flower opening. You're not examining the darkness between the space or fearing I'm going to collapse into darkness. Fearing. I'm 137 days into recovery. I'm going to collapse. No offense to that. But there's a much more intimate, immediate empowerment that isn't held captive by use or non-use. Just saying. Bhavana is the original word for meditation, as I understand it, in the original Buddhist Pali language. Mind training. For me, I use the word, as I was encouraged by my teachers, the beautification of being. I know the word beautification may sound a little silly or a little bit prosaic, but there's something very beautiful for me about beauty, my interpretation of beauty. I don't want to get into a comparison of how beautiful it is versus this is really beautiful. But beauty, the beautification of consciousness, the little victories that we have to beautify them, the restraints that we feel that we normally don't have access to, how to beautify them, how to be one's own best ally We hear the word often in Buddhism called Kalyanamitta, a teacher, a true guide. And there are some great ones that have lived and died. How to become one's own Kalyanamitta. The retreat isn't about following a teaching or a teacher, or certainly not me. I'm not into students, never had them, never will. And share what you know from the best possible place of integrity and let people overhear how you practice for yourself. But this Kalyanamitta phrase, how to become one's own best friend, one's own ally, one's own Dhamma savant, one's own true radical, maverick, rogue, revolutionary, misfit, whatever, how to embody that edge of transformational, purely personal elegance, to guide yourself in the theater of your own life, on the stage of your own existence, to breathe and to inhabit and to create and to love and to feel and to take risks in the name of that which you define your integrity, your dignity, your conscience, your liberty for your family. And so much of the retreat is about, okay, now that I've done what I've done, I got here, Bali's a long way away unless you live there and it's very close. What do you want to do with the preciousness of your life? I mean, it took a long time in a monastery to realize that, yes, you're encouraged to watch your breathing, and in the absence of the breath being the most predominant experience, be aware of sound or smell or taste or physical sensations. And you realize after a while, okay, now that I'm breathing, now what? I'm aware of my sensations of my breathing. And you begin to realize slowly, wow, the breathing means that you're alive. Oh, I mean, it's not theater to say this, like, wow, wow. And life obviously is graded by discontinuity. There are no exceptions to death. And to think that life is a moment-to-moment occurrence, and you begin to inhabit more of the nature of being present, cut back into mortality and urgency with true, passionate delight. You don't want to numb that edge. You want to highlight it and go, okay, what will I do? What am I doing? What more can I do? How will I evolve what I'm doing and what I'm not doing? How can I create a roadmap for the expression of doing? The retreat is about that creative urge to bring forth the best of you, called dignity, conscience, moral courage, and the beauty of freedom of expression. And what will you do with that? You want to write a book? Great, I'll help you with that if you want me to help you. You want to get on the stage and be a spoken word artist? I'll help you with that. You want to be a meditator? I'll help you with that. You want to play the edge of revolutionary Dharma practice as an activist? I'll do my best to share with you my insights into that. What does it mean to give up my job and volunteer in a refugee camp in Karen State or Shan State or in Rakhine State or in Bangladesh or somewhere in Thailand? I'll do my very best to help you in that vocation. So many people waste their time in retreats and meditation because of not feeling how they can actualize their expression. You don't have to become a healer or be healed. You can be a broken individual and be a savant in your craft. Those are the best movies, the best books, the best memoirs, the best guides, the best so-called healers. Are you living your dream? Are you living your edge? Are you living your expression? And I'm all into that kind of merger of a Tony Robbins-esque revolutionary, Aung San Suu Kyi, Nobel Peace Laureate, caring for the future of freedom in her own country. Where's my own inner Aung San Suu Kyi? Where's my own inner Rosa Parks sitting at the front of my vocation? The retreat will be about that through writing exercises, group discussions, silent meditation, bathing in the pool, the hot tub, blessed with great food, and 20 beautiful souls, hopefully. So from my heart to yours, thank you for listening. I hope that you find some inspiration. If you're touched in some way, reach out to me. If you want to talk about the retreat by Zoom, set up a Zoom call. I'm honored to talk with you. If you're curious and you want to attend, just look at the website under the schedule. All the various things are there. It's an interview that was done. There's an overview, frequently asked questions. There's a donation page. There's an online registration. It's very simple. Send it. I'll reach out once I get it. And we have about 10 more spaces available with a very strict limit of 20 full-time people at this very precious retreat. Probably tomorrow, the next day, I'll carry on with part 2 of this because I think there's so many different elements that I'd like to share. But for now, I think that just thinking when I left America in 1976, travel overland to India with my partner. She and I went to Burma together. I wanted to ordain as a monk. I had no idea it was a dictatorship. I eventually ordained in New York with the very monk that I met in Burma. And I went back to Burma on a 7-day visa, which was the maximum. And I was told that they would do all they could to petition the regime to allow me to stay. My goal was to practice Vipassana insight meditation, Satipatthana, and I wanted to know what I didn't know. I wanted to see the unseen, feel the unfelt. I had done pretty much what the world could offer for me. And I was done. I don't know if you've ever gotten to that place. I was just done. It was, yeah, sure there was more, but it was just, I wanted time to feel, to look, and to discover and to adventure into this timeless tradition of the Buddha and the Dhamma through Ehipasiko. Come and see for yourself, young man, young woman. Wupanayiko, onward leading to one's own wisdom. Sandihiko, able to be seen here and now. You breathe here and now, I was encouraged. The Dhamma will become that level of immediacy. Ehikaliko, oxygen, timeless. The oxygen of liberation in present time presence. I cried in terror, as I said, and in joy that I had the good fortune as a radical, crazy, maverick, college dropout, athletically inclined, cigarette smoking, cocaine ingesting, opioid addicted, artist, young man, looking to discover what I did not know about myself. When I went into the monastery, and it became, in a way, my rehab center and my self-propulsion through the beauty of this timeless Dhamma and these beautiful monks and nuns and lay people that supported us. It was my trajectory from the gravitational pull of my fear and ignorance and anger and self-judgment. And I was helped to learn how to navigate those self-gravitational, conflict, convulsing energies within my own psyche and to decathex from the outside. No, you can't just reach for the next cigarette. No, you just can't reach for the next pill. You can't reach for the next line of cocaine, Alan. You can't reach for the next line. You can't reach for the next drink. You can't reach for the next moment of intimacy and sex. You cannot. You've got to abide and to feel. The courage to feel your own presence. And that was just a beautiful process of being held in that monastery and to learn, I would call it the fine human art of Dharma artistry, mindful intelligence, bhavana, the beautification of consciousness, how to see your mind as a flower and to nurture it, self-nurturance. So from my heart to yours, thank you for listening. Have a beautiful day. And I hope to see your retreat registration because it will end as soon as we have the full 20 people and we're set to go. And I hope that happens sometime in the short while. So have a beautiful day and hope to see you soon for part 2 of this talk.